By 323 BC, Alexander the Great developed the biggest empire the known world had ever seen. It stretched from Macedon in Europe to the Indus Valley in the north of India. He had defeated powerful leaders such as Darius III and King Porus, where he encountered monstrous armies and militaries. Alexander's superior military strength helped the Macedonians conquer Greece, Egypt, and the Persian Empire. Alexander the Great's empire was undoubtedly the greatest power in the known world during the 4th century BC. Alexander's kingdom looked invincible. However, at age 33, Alexander the Great had fallen ill and died in Babylon during 323 BC. He had not named a successor to his throne. Some historians claim that Alexander did not care about a successor, nor the future of his empire, since he wanted to take revenge on the Persians for their campaigns against the Greeks during the 5th century BC. Historians are also divided on Alexander's death, with some claiming that he had caught malaria, suffered from the effects of heavy drinking, or that his immunity was poor, following the death of his best friend Hephaestion. Nevertheless, Alexander's empire had been built for more than 10 years and had no clear successor. The Macedonian generals under Alexander the Great were very uncertain over the future of the empire. Once news broke out about Alexander's death, Athens and Aetolia rebelled against Macedonian rule. This caused the Lamian War of 323 BC. The battle was quashed by Alexander's military commanders, Antipater and Craterus. While this war was suppressed, the Lamian War sent a clear message to the Macedonian rulers. The empire was divided and vulnerable to rebellion and disagreement. Perdiccas, a leading cavalry commander in Alexander's army, believed that it was in the best interest of the empire to wait for Alexander's unborn child to be born. This would mean that the kingdom would have a clear successor. Perdiccas preferred Alexander's wife, Roxanne, and child because it would help him serve as regent for the new king. Despite Perdiccas's ambitions, the empire needed unification and leadership. In 323 BC, Perdiccas brought all of Alexander's commanders together to decide on the next ruler of the empire. Some generals supported Alexander's half-brother, Aridaeus. This gained support from Meleager, another general of Alexander the Great. However, this lacked popularity, so the generals in support of Perdiccas were rewarded parts of Alexander's extensive empire. The most significant distributions were made at the Partition of Babylon in 323 BC. Ptolemy received Egypt, Lysimachus took Thrace, Cassander took Macedonia and Greece, and Seleucus took Central Asia. Perdiccas, looking to be diplomatic, had Alexander's ring and his body. He looked to return it to Macedon and Alexander's newly prepared tomb. Perdiccas wanted to bury Alexander back in Macedon. However, Ptolemy, the new ruler of Egypt, had then stolen Alexander's body in Damascus and taken it to Memphis for burial. This was a sign from Ptolemy to the other successors that he wanted to be the next king of Alexander's empire. This triggered the First Successor War between Perdiccas and Ptolemy. More arguments over control and power began when Antigonus, one of Alexander's commanders, refused to help Eumenes keep control of his allocated region of Cappadocia. Eumenes was commander of Perdiccas's forces in Asia Minor. However, Antigonus was ordered by Perdiccas to help secure the province for Eumenes. This is because Cappadocia had not been fully subdued under Perdiccas's control. However, Antigonus disobeyed Perdiccas and did not want to seek war, so he retreated with his son, Demetrius Poliorcetes, to Macedon. Antigonus, knowing that Perdiccas would be furious, allied with Antipater, Craterus, Ptolemy, and Lysimachus to combat the alliance of Perdiccas and Eumenes. Perdiccas saw Antigonus's actions as a threat to his authority and sought to humble Antigonus in Macedon. However, the First Successor War ended when Perdiccas failed miserably against Ptolemy in Egypt, followed by his death in 320 BC. One thing was certain: Alexander's empire was no longer a cohesive unit and was now a divided kingdom with rulers that were hungry for power and domination. With the death of Perdiccas, the leaders came to a new agreement at the Treaty of Triparadisus. This saw the condemnation of Eumenes to death and changes to the original Partition of Babylon. Antigonus was now the commander of Asia, Ptolemy retained Egypt, Lysimachus retained Thrace, and Seleucus retained Babylon. The First Successor War was now over, and Alexander's unified empire was now a series of smaller kingdoms.